I think it's important to be aligned on vision.
Hmm.
How you get there is really the strategy, and that's up for debate. So I think sometimes the strategy becomes our identity, and that can get really complicated.
Hello to you. Welcome back to Relationships at Work, a leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm Russel, Lolacher, your host, also a communications and leadership expert with a couple of successful decades under my belt and a whole heap of curiosity, just like you, on how we can make the workplace a better place. It's part 3 of our 4-part conversation. This topic this week, leadership design. We started Monday with clarity and definitions, as we always do. Tuesday, self-awareness, really understanding our own relationship with ourselves and making sure that we're even prepared to design our leadership. Well, now it's about introducing our teams into this. That's right. We have a relationship with the people that we are working with and also that we're responsible for. So leadership design. How do we design leadership? Co-create? How do we understand their needs when we're designing our own leadership? Our intention? We get into it. My guest today gets into it, and I'm excited to share it, as I always am, because I love passing on these tidbits because my brain gets a little bit bigger, and I hope yours does as well. All right, let's get going and jump right back into the conversation. Glad you segued for me there, Georgi. You got me right into the teams conversation I wanted to have. Because as leaders, designed leaders that have this purpose, have this vision, how can they bring their teams along, to your point, with all that other perspectives, diversity, without losing their own perspective and vision? Because as much as I love hammering home, this is the promised land, this is the North Star, people are going to have different perspectives because your vision could be a very personal one, and your team might be like, I'm not feeling it as much.
Yeah, I think it's important to be aligned on vision. How you get there is really the strategy, and that's up for debate. So I think sometimes the strategy becomes our identity, and that can get really complicated. And we can see that in politics. So I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, or in the US anyway, right? And that identity is really hard to shift. We really move from one to the other. That should actually be the strategy. It depends. So you're voting for something you care about, and how you get there, you should be able to change. And so often when I see it go wrong is the strategy now becomes your identity, and therefore you don't have the flexibility to make the changes that need to be made.
Any questions you'd suggest to start asking your team to sort of, I guess, co-create the journey?
Yeah, I mean, I love that idea of co-creating, but a vision needs to be created for any brand, company, service so that you understand how to get, again, to communicate to your customers what you are able, how you're able to serve them and what is unique that you can bring to the table to make sure that you're meeting their needs. And you need to have a higher vision of how you see the world and how and what you can deliver. And so either you've already got that and it's well established and you have sort of a mission and values already established in the company that people buy into when they join, or if it's something that you don't have, then it needs more work. And I'll give you an example where things are in the world that I'm in seem like really misaligned on college campuses. So students come into college campuses with the admissions personnel require students to have an incredible vision of the world, already dedicated to solving world problems, have started a not-for-profit, have dedicated hours to making their communities better, wanting to change the world. When the students are in college, they get very little of that messaging. And when they leave college, the career centers are not bringing the people on campus to help those students change the world. They're bringing the big corporate, so banking, consulting, or big tech, and sometimes some small not-for-profits because they help make the story look good. But they're not aligned with the value system from start to finish. And students are feeling that misalignment as also and feeling disappointed with what they're being helped with when it comes to the careers on the other end. And so that's an example. It's not a office example, but where a value system is not clear. And the losers in that situation are the customer, which is the student. And so that often happens also in companies where you have a purpose or a mission that is a nice to have, but it's on the periphery and it's not really deeply integrated into how you do business and serve your customers.
I've always found vision and mission to be underutilized in the workplace as A, communication tools, and B, engagement tools. Because if you get a vision right, your team will fully buy in. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger. They want to feel like they're fixing a problem that is beyond and this can work in organizations, and there are a lot of organizations that have horrible vision and mission statement. But individual teams can have their own, I sometimes even call them purpose statements, because I don't want to have another vision on top of a vision for the organization. But it still has the same impact. It's still like looking to a better place. What's a bad vision? What is something within, and I'm still looking at teams at this point, not the macro, but more the micro, a leadership, their team, their vision. When is it too much or too narrow?
Well, I would say my number one red flag is if it's too vague or difficult to communicate. So if you can say, if everybody on your team knows what the vision is and can say it, you've got the right vision. Sometimes people have visions of, we're going to help serve people live a better life. It's way too vague. Like, what does that actually mean? Or they have a vision of, it's very like detailed and complicated and may have made sense with people wordsmithing something and fitting in all the right pieces to keep everybody happy. But it's not something that can be repeated by every employee. And so when it's easily repeatable, or even the value system, when it's easily known, okay, I'm at a crossroads, I need to make a choice for a client. What do I do? The values of the company should be things you can easily sort of step into, and now you'll know what to do. And if that's not the case, then I would call that an ineffective vision.
I've often gone and asked people from all different organizations, and I go, so what's your vision? And they'd be like, I don't know. I'm like, then it's a crap vision.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't, A, it doesn't resonate with you obvious enough to even remember. B, do you even know what it, like, sure, it might be on a poster or on a website somewhere where you have to go 17 clicks on it, but this should be hammered home and living and breathing and organic and something that you believe in every day. But if you can't even remember it, or it's, to your point, it's gobbledygook corporate speak, because they're trying to please too many masters that want to feel like they're a part of it. And I'm like, then it's useless to everybody when you're trying to help everybody.
And I've actually been on a not-for-profit board where we, as an offsite, hired somebody to help us with vision work for the day, and then nothing was done with it. And so I think often companies sort of think, okay, that would be an interesting thing to do. We should go do this work. We'll do an offsite. We'll take everybody's day. We feel bonded. We feel close that day. And then there's silence. And so, not integrating it or not building a vision that is integratable into the business is also, ineffective.
Too many cooks in the kitchen, as it were.
Yeah. Or it's like anything else that we're doing today. We're consuming so much and putting so many inputs in, but what are we actually implementing? And, just even on the individual level, the amount of information we're all consuming becomes almost addictive. It's like junk food. But if we're not doing anything with that information, then it's not really worth it or worth the investment. And so if you are a company that is needing to build out a vision, or a team that's needing to strategically build in a vision, I would even build in the time afterwards that it's going to take to implement it, and then to think effectively, how have we used it and what do we need to adjust or not adjust? But it can't just be a one-day affair.
And that will wrap it up for part 3 of our 4-part conversation. It's Relationships at Work, a leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher. As I just mentioned, this is only part 3. Part 4, Oh, it's coming around the corner. It is tomorrow. It's about culture. It is about how leadership design lives in a culture of an organization. You may have questions. Well, we'll probably have some answers for you tomorrow. So hopefully you can join us then. Look forward to sharing that with you. If you've enjoyed the podcast, I've got a little extra something, a little side dish, a complimentary taste, if you will. It's our LinkedIn newsletter, Raw Note. Just go to LinkedIn. Relationships at Work has its very own page, and there you can see some insights for free in our Raw Note newsletter. It's got some insights from myself that help with mindset shift for weeks ahead, if you want to think a little bit differently or maybe double down on some of the things you're pondering. It's also got some takeaways from this episode and regular episodes. We try to take some tidbits away from our guests. Also, some teasers of some of the things that are coming up. And of course, some raw library in there. That's right. We've been around for 3 years. We've got some nuggets in there, some amazing gems. Every episode really is. But what I do is I try to find an episode that is more relevant to some of the topics we cover in that newsletter. So it's more like an extension of the conversation we're already having. Yeah, that sounds pretty valuable. All right, I'll leave it there, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow as we wrap up our conversation on leadership design. Take care.